Hi everyone and welcome back to Tomes and Travel. Today I'm here to do a BookTube discussion video on the relativity of reading speed. I saw this video a couple of weeks ago on 1book1review's channel and I found it really interesting. I always think she's really thoughtful and she always comes up with discussions that other people are not really talking about. So I wanted to kind of get involved and share my thoughts in a video. I did do like a little comment response to her video, but I thought I could just talk in a little bit more depth by actually making a video. She was talking about her average reading speed in terms of the amount of pages she can read per hour, and the fact that this doesn't really affect how long it will actually take her to finish an entire book. In terms of my average reading speed, I probably read between 30 to 40 pages per hour, and that depends largely on the kind of book. So if there's a very dense book with a lot of description, it will definitely take me longer than a book that is driven by dialogue, which is much easier and much quicker to read. I am currently reading The Wise Man's Sphere by Rothfuss, and this is a high fantasy novel that is very dense in terms of description, and there is dialogue which is really good and really witty, but there is a lot of description, the font size is quite small, and it just takes a long time to kind of process the read. So with this one, I kind of worked out before I even started reading that I would probably be able to read between 50 and 70 pages in a day, and that would probably take me around 2 hours maximum. I'm quite busy at the moment with all different kinds of stuff in my life, so 2 hours reading per day I think is quite good, and 70 pages a day maximum I think is still quite good as well, and I'm happy with that. But obviously if I was reading a book like, say for example, The Hunger Games by Suzanne, this is a YA book and there is description, but there's largely a lot of dialogue as well, and it's very plot driven, it's very fast paced, very kind of page turnery, if that makes sense. And to be honest, I could probably read the entire Hunger Games series faster than I could read The Wise Man's Sphere, because even though this is 1,000 pages and all these added up would be about the same, I still feel like these are much quicker. They're easier to get through, and I mean, obviously The Hunger Games is one of my favourite series, so naturally I love reading it and I can spend hours on end reading it. I would also say that how much I'm enjoying the book really affects how long I want to spend with that book. So with a book like The Hunger Games, like I said, it's very fast paced and I always want to find out what's going to happen next. Particularly when I was reading the book for the first time, I was quite addicted and I could probably sit down for like 5 hours all in one go reading the book and get through most of it in that time. Whereas with a high fantasy novel like The Wise Man's Sphere, it takes me much longer, and even though I'm really enjoying the book and I really want to know what's going to happen next, I just need to take breaks more regularly to kind of process the information and to digest the plot. With The Wise Man's Sphere there's a lot of side characters and you have to really keep up with them. There's a lot of different plot developments and different avenues that the plot goes down. I feel like with a high fantasy book, because it's so dense and because it's so intense, I kind of read maybe for an hour and then I want to take a break. I feel like with those kind of books, personally for me, I can't keep reading and reading and reading all in one go. I just need to take breaks, and I will never be able to read a high fantasy novel in one sitting. I mean, naturally, obviously, you know, 1,000 pages, I don't think anyone's going to read that in one sitting unless they are like a robot or something. But I feel like with this kind of book, I just have to take a lot more breaks than I would with a young adult book. In 1book1review's video, she was kind of saying that this is sort of like a paradox, because the books that you love and your favourite books, you actually end up spending less time reading them than books that you just think are okay, because with books that you think are okay, you need to take more breaks, perhaps you're not reading as fast because it's not as much of a page turner, so you actually spend more time with those kind of books than your favourite books. One of the main questions from this was, do we actually take into consideration how long a book will take us when we're coming up with our monthly TBRs or our Goodreads goals, or maybe if we're doing a readathon, do we really calculate how long it will take us to read an individual book? And in my case, I definitely do. As I've said, I'm currently reading The Wise Man's Sphere, and before I even started, I calculated that this would take me around 3 weeks to read. So I definitely kind of plan and estimate how long I will take to read a book before I even start it, and obviously that can change. Sometimes my predictions are not very accurate, particularly if it becomes a real page turner and there's some really intense scenes and I just want to keep reading and reading. But in general, I do kind of predict how long it will take me to read each book and then how many books I can read in a month. Say for example I was reading books that were 300 pages long, I would probably be able to read around 4 of them in a month, which is basically 1 book a week. I feel like that would be quite realistic, whereas with high fantasy novels or books that are maybe over 600 pages or more, I definitely have to take longer with them. I have to process the information, I have to take more breaks. Sometimes these kind of very long books are intimidating as well and very overwhelming. So they're not books that I can read particularly quickly. This kind of got me thinking as well about BookTube, and obviously recently I've been getting back into making BookTube videos again and I'm really enjoying it. But I'm thinking, obviously I'm reading a really long book at the moment and it's taken me quite a while to get through, which is fine because I'm really enjoying the book. But in terms of content for my channel, it sort of becomes a bit of a problem. If, for example, I was reading books that were just around 300, 400 pages, I would probably be able to do around 4 book review videos in a month, so I would have a lot more content to put out. Whereas currently I'm reading The Wise Man's Sphere. That's probably the only full book that I'm going to read this month, so that means I'm only going to have 1 book review video by the end of the month. I do like to put out content regularly, but obviously if I'm in the mood to read a long book, it becomes a kind of issue because book review videos are probably some of my favourites to film. It kind of just becomes a question of quality of videos or quantity of videos, and I think for me I'm just trying to get a balance between the two. I always want to try and make videos that are interesting and where I can share insightful ideas. I don't want to make videos just for the sake of making videos, because I wouldn't enjoy that and you probably wouldn't enjoy it either. But at the same time, I definitely want to make videos regularly because I don't want to sort of only do 1 video a month or 2 videos a month, for example, if I'm reading a really long book. Of course, around the book review videos, I do other kind of videos as well, like tag videos and discussion videos like this one. So I always have like side content to put out. But book reviews are actually some of my favourites to do. So when I'm reading a really long book and I can't make as many book reviews in the same amount of time, I kind of feel a bit strange about that because I definitely want to make more book review videos. So I think that's everything for today's discussion on the relativity of reading speed. I think there's so much to say about this topic. It is really an interesting topic and I'd love to hear other people's thoughts on this in the comments below. Obviously the video discussion was sort of started by 1book1review. I'll link her channel down below as well as the original video. Please go and watch her video and share your comments with her as well. And until next time, thanks for watching and see you all again in my next video.